All right, we're here with Valerie Kobbero. We're having a client success story interview today. So Valerie is one of my clients, and I'm so happy to share her story with you and how working with me benefited her life. And so you're on Receptive Radio, your tuning station. I go live every Thursday at 12:30 p.m. Pacific time, and this show is to inspire conscious entrepreneurs, intrapreneurs, people who are working towards realizing their potential, self-actualization, and looking to eliminate the things that are in the way of that. So thank you for joining us. So I'm going to get started. Valerie, tell us what you do and a little bit about yourself.
I am a massage therapist and a Reiki master. I am in Quebec. I'm French, so my roots are very Eastern Canada. I've been living in Vancouver for at least 17 years, so I've able to perfect my English a little bit more. And yeah, I have 2 children, and I'm now currently not living in Vancouver, and I've moved to Scotland.
Wow.
So that's me.
Yeah, big change, big change. And so one of the things that when we started working together was you were living in Langley and working as your massage therapy you were working a lot is what I remember. You were a mobile massage therapist, so you drove around to help people.
Yes.
And do Reiki with them as well. Mm-hmm. And you had a big clientele list.
Yes.
Yeah. So when you were referred to me through another client, and I remember us having an instant rapport.
I remember that too.
Yeah. Can you tell me and the audience, what was one of the common challenges or the things that was really like, why did you want to come work with me?
I've been looking for somebody that understood more the spiritual way of being, and coming from a background of, the religion and stuff like that, I wanted somebody that was quite open and understanding. And from what my client, our mutual client had told me about you, is that you're very easy to talk to and understanding. So I thought, you know what, let's try it. I think there's a reason why my client told me about you, and I just couldn't wait to reach out to you. I think I reached out to you the same day the mutual client told me about you.
Yeah. And so in that first session when we were talking, what are some of the things that you wanted to change?
A lot of things I wanted to change. I think it was, my self-esteem suffered a lot with a lot of abuse in the past. I felt like I could do better. I never, was not self-assured enough. And I also like the fact that you're a shaman, and, it really spoke to how you work with energies. And because, being a Reiki master, working on people through massage, the energy is very predominant. So it's very important to me that knowing that you were doing that same energy work at the same time.
Yeah. And what about I don't want to share too much because you can share as much as you want, but what part of your past kept coming up, kept repeating, that you were having trouble getting out of, that we have transformed together? Like, what part of that was one thing?
I think it was the anger against men, about being repetitively abused by men. And it stemmed from, starting with, my father, and then my brothers, and then my ex-spouse. So it felt like I was always attracting, even though I read books and I did all these self-work and went to therapy and coaching, and it still wasn't good enough, because I still was attracting that kind of negative possessiveness with a streak of aggressiveness towards the men coming towards me.
Right.
So you really helped me with that.
Yeah. I can understand that too, because I had a similar experience with men in the early part of my life. Not my dad so much, but more I kind of like would put myself into uncomfortable relationship, you know?
Yes. Yeah.
And part of my story is that I see potential in everybody. And so whatever I was attracted to in those men, I would see their potential, but they never did.
No, we're the saviors. We wanted to save them.
Yeah, yeah. And when we're younger, we get into this habit of, or I did, maybe you did too, is believing that people want to change.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because that's what my motivation is I want to be better. I want to get better and better every day. And do you have that same thing, Val?
Exactly. And
Yeah.
I think that's why I attracted such damaged people, I guess, because I always saw the potential in everyone. I'm a very positive person. I see good in everybody, but there's sometimes not as good as I would have wanted them to be.
Right,
So
right. So tell me a little bit about the story of your husband and having the kids. Can you share some of that with the
Sure.
audience?
Sure.
Great.
So I met my ex-husband when I was living in Taiwan, actually. So even then, there were red flags when I was living there, and he was very possessive, and he didn't want me to speak to other people. I was not allowed to have friends, but I was comfortable with that control coming from a very strict religious background where men controlled everything about you. And so for me, it was kind of not comfortable. I knew something was wrong, but I was just like, well, I'm used to it. So when we came to Canada, um, I immigrated him to Canada, and I tried to give him the best life he could have. But the abuse got too bad. And when my son was 6 years old and my daughter was a year and a half, I just said, I had enough. My son was belittled. He was grinding his teeth, and, he wasn't sleeping well at night. So I said, my children are my priority. So leaving my husband at that time was very hard because he threatened to take the kids away from me to Taiwan, saying I was a bad mother, I wasn't good enough. So I had to hide in a woman's shelter. And, the divorce proceedings was horrible because, I was attacked by him all the time. And that unworthiness kept coming up because, I'm not a good enough mom. And the kids would come home from seeing their dad on the weekend and, oh, mom, you broke the family. Daddy said you did this and daddy, you said that. And, it really brought me to a brink of suicidal thoughts. And, it was really hard to see the bigger picture. Like I knew I did the right thing, but it was so hard to move along and be a single mom with 2 children, working a full-time job and nothing, right? Like I had nothing else to show for. But my kids kept me going. And, he was very verbally abusive, towards until about when I started working with you, Jennifer, when you showed me how to clear that contract that my ex and I had way back before we were together, and, in the past life or however it happened that we had a soul contract, I guess. And, learning to forgive me and forgive him, which you taught me so well through our sessions, made it possible for me when I'm now currently engaged with the man of my life, the love of my life. And he's like the complete opposite. Like he tells me I'm beautiful, I'm gorgeous. He just like, I'm the one who's in control now. And it's amazing to feel that love. But with this guy, we decided to move to Scotland, and never before my ex-husband would, ever think of saying yes, because, it's another control for him. But somehow clearing all those past negative, emotions that we had against each other, I guess, cleared the way. And, I was able to take my daughter, and he gave me his blessing to bring my daughter to Scotland. My son's old enough that he's living on his own. So it was just an amazing eye-opening. And it's just like anything can happen if you got the right person to work with you and help you. And, it's your God sent. Basically, that's how I say it.
I think the same about you because, I think this is an important part of your story is you didn't need to fight to get what you wanted. We didn't have to do anything to convince or manipulate any situations. It was just an ownership of transforming that pattern, whatever that name of that pattern it was or is, but through forgiveness. And I really do think that not every client has the same pattern. It's always a unique experience, of course, but you really embraced wanting to change. And that's what shifted everything. You embraced forgiving him.
Yeah.
And instead of judging him and fighting back and making it more dramatized.
Yeah.
But it was all within you. You just shifted yourself. This is how I remember. This was a year ago that we were.
Yes.
About a year ago that this was all changing and transforming for you. But it made it really easy.
Yeah.
And then I remember you saying wow, it was I just shifted it within myself and then your outer experience shifted. So it was really a beautiful thing for me to hold space for you to do.
Yeah. It was quite shocking, to be honest, because, and it's learning how to not live in your past, right? And you taught me not to think that something bad is going to happen. It's resolved, and just see the good in the relationship.
Yeah. So you really transformed the mindset and embodied the transformation inside yourself.
Yeah.
Through heart, mind, soul, energy. And what was one of the practices that really helped you the most that we worked with?
Oh yeah, if we didn't, you started with Earth Force activation, and I think the first session, even before the first session started, I got the invite to do the Earth Force activation. 6 o'clock in the morning. It was hardcore for me because I'm tired, but I got it. I started doing Earth Force with you, and all the other clients, and it was an amazing thing because it's being twice a week, and it was consistently we never missed a week. And how long have I done Earth Force now? Almost a year and a half that we've. And I think this grounded me for working with you, having Earth Force. Every week I would see you, and then I would have Earth Force twice a week. So there was no lapse in support, because if I didn't see you, I still had the meditation, and then I was able to log in and listen to it. Sometimes I couldn't sleep at night, and I would actually put a episode of Earth Force before going to bed, and then just close my eyes, and I had the best sleep because whatever I needed to let go was let go through Mother Earth. And it was just such a gem to have that extra support.
Yeah. So for the audience that doesn't know what Val's talking about, part of working with me is also getting the opportunity to join us in live guided meditation on Tuesdays and Friday mornings at 6 a.m. Pacific time for 30 minutes, where I facilitate. I'm not doing it, but I'm facilitating a guided meditation to our inside of ourselves, to open up the channel of connection within ourselves, with our heart, our mind, our body, and our energy. And then we connect with the earth, and then gather life force to support us. And during that 30 minutes, because I do it as well, and I've been doing it Val was one of my first people, as long as Val, it's like a catapulter. It supports the sessions without having to do anything but come and be present and aware during it, and really expands transformation, because that's what I've noticed for myself is whatever you're working on, you get through it faster, you transform faster, and it's better than you can imagine. Like you're like, oh, wow, this has shifted. And I didn't even realize,
Yeah.
Do you have that experience as well?
It's almost instant sometimes. Like it's, I'll have this feeling or this, dread or something. And, doing Air Force after that, it's just like, what was my problem again? Like, I can't remember, and I'm like, well, that worked. It's like the pill that, it's a natural spiritual pill that we take. And, it's the same thing as, feeding your body or the love that you have for relationships is the same thing. Meditation is so important for your personal development. Like, I don't think like without Earth Force, I would have been as far ahead as I would have been just doing the sessions with you. Like, don't get me wrong, the sessions are amazing, but I think the Earth Force kind of ties it in together perfectly.
Yeah.
With that.
And I was guided through my meditation, my daily practice. That's why I'm such a strong believer in daily practice and going inside to get the answers, because I actually was guided to create Earth Force activation. And the name came through meditation practice. And it is an activation. It's an activation of your presence, your soul, your connection with yourself, your purpose, your potential, and an activation for the earth too, because there's a bigger message that comes through about how the earth is transforming.
Mm-hmm.
That's how I'm receiving it as well, but not always. I mean, it's always different. There's never the one practice that's the same. So it's always completely different. And I think we're evolving through it as well.
Yeah. It's like the ocean. I feel like it's like the water like flowing through. It just, you never know what type of water you're going to get, but it still flows. It just, trickles through.
Great. And so what could you tell the audience about getting started with me or with somebody like me to help them transform any obstacles, challenges, distractions, old patterns, so that they can realize their potential? What would you tell the audience?
Well, I would say like start meeting, for example, like meet with you and do the introductory package, which I did because that was the way I could know exactly what I needed to work on. Because like, there's so many roads that you can take, but when you have somebody that is there and you speak to them and you do, your 2 sessions that are directed private and one-on-one, then you can really get to know how you can help your clients, because it's very hard to going to see a psychologist and stuff like that. It's not very catered, but you cater in a way that you're like, okay, like I see what you're struggling, let's work on that. And what are your triggers, what are your shadows, and having that first one-on-one private meeting with you, I think really helps to give direction and sense of knowing what you want to do in your life, or resolved issues that have been, sitting there. And I know that I am way more in my power now than I've ever been. And, I didn't even know that I had that inside of me. And, and it just started with you finding the source, the introductory package. And, I've been sold since then. Right.
Well, thank you, Val. Yeah. So Val's mentioning that to start working with me, I have an introductory package, and Finding the Source is my signature program. And anyone who would like to work with me, we start with the introductory package, and we do 2 90-minute sessions, and you get access to Earth Force activation as well. So you can experience both ways that it works to transform your struggles and rediscover, like, what is the big dream? What is the potential that you're not realizing? Because I have, I have constantly been unraveling, and I'm no value you're doing. We're always working
Yep.
towards unraveling old conditioning, old imprinting, old belief systems that, kind of been coming on to us since we were young and we didn't know it, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
And so it's hard. It's like my work is designed to really take that off so that you can shine the authentic self and really remember who you really are.
Yeah. Exactly.
So, and I love working with people because it's so fulfilling. It really helps me to be fulfilled in my work. And I really want that for everybody else. And I want that for you. So Val, I just want to share a little bit. So Val, while we were working together and she was transforming all of those things with her ex, her relationship with her fiance got even better. And things just started falling into place. Like, you listed the house for sale, it's sold. And then the plane tickets. And then, the ex-husband just like, yeah, Ziva can go with you. And now you're living in Scotland.
Yeah, and debt free. Like, I have no mortgage because the money that I made selling my place in Langley covered this perfect little townhouse we have, and it's like financially we're good. We're thriving, and I would have never thought that would happen a year and a half ago. I didn't even know it was a dream of mine to move here. So
yeah. And now you're looking for, and you get to, now you're exploring Scotland and all of the sacred circles and this, the stone circles and all of the ancient churches.
Yes.
And the new dream is now
buying a church.
Well, it's kind of like showing its path to you. And you get to, you're engaged, you're just waiting for your immigration to come through, and you're going to get married too.
I know. It's exciting. Yeah, I can't wait.
Yeah.
So, and then everything's falling through with, with David on his side and, with his relationship too, so that we can get married. And, when you work on yourself without really realizing, you're actually helping your spouse too. And, David's a better, not that he wasn't good before, but he's a better person emotionally too. And, he suffered from health issues that he doesn't have anymore. And he keeps telling me, it's like, Val, you're such a good person. Like, you're so supportive. And, he's like, Val, you heal me. And it's like, I don't think, I think he does his own healing, but, it really helps, in relationships when you start focusing on you and just work on you and not working on others.
Yeah. And that's a big shift from when we were young and in our teens and 20s, when we thought we needed to change the guy in our relationship, right?
Yep.
No,
exactly.
We only needed to focus on ourselves. It's taken a while to figure that out.
But, exactly. Prince Charming's not going to come. You have to bring him to you.
Through becoming whatever, Princess Charming or whatever.
Exactly.
Charming. Yeah.
Yeah. You bring the magnet. So
yes. I love it. And it makes me so happy that you are thriving and everything is working out. And I love working with you.
Likewise.
It's so rewarding to have and cheer you on. Like, I love cheering you on.
Thank you.
And I'm so grateful.
I feel it, and I can feel it all the time. Like, I always feel that you're holding space for me all the time. Like, even if we don't talk every day, or there's still, and I'm across the world, I feel like you're still there.
Yeah.
So
yeah, and so that's another thing. Like, lots of my work is over Zoom with clients, and we do Earth Force activation over Zoom, but that's the thing about spiritual work or self-development work. Time and space are not constraints. It's interesting that we're working on a multidimensional level, and that we can hold space for one another to transform. and maybe you're inspiring me now. There's another episode to talk about that.
I like that.
Yeah. And I'm so grateful that you came on to do this client success story with me,
My
Val.
pleasure.
And I love you so much.
I love you too. You're amazing.
Thank you. Thank you. And Receptive Radio, thank you so much for being part of this community in the audience and helping to hold space for consciousness awareness of ourselves, connection with ourselves, transformation, and dreaming the potential of ourselves into the world through actualizing it. Thank you so much for joining us today. And I hope you enjoyed this interview with Valerie. And we'll see you next Thursday at 12:30 p.m. Pacific time for the next live episode. Bye.
Bye.